Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going deep on something really important. It's a tough topic, but it's how narcissists can, take advantage of people on the autism spectrum.
Yeah.
We've got some research and expert opinions to help us out. We're going to look at how they do it, why they might target autistic people specifically, and most importantly, how to protect yourself.
It's so important to understand this. It can really damage someone's well-being
Mm.
and how they see themselves.
Okay, so let's get started. For those who might not be familiar with the terms, how would you define narcissist and autistic individual?
Well, a narcissist, it's someone with a personality disorder, right?
Mm.
They have this huge sense of self-importance, need tons of admiration, and they just lack empathy. They
Mm.
often manipulate and exploit others to, get what they
Mm.
want. Now, an autistic individual, that's someone on the autism spectrum. They experience the world differently than neurotypical people. That can mean differences in how they communicate socially, how they process sensory information, and they may have some repetitive behaviors.
Our sources use this phrase, playing on autistic traits. What exactly does that mean when we're talking about narcissistic manipulation?
It's about how narcissists, they can twist the unique characteristics, even challenges of autistic individuals, and use them for their own benefit.
So it's not that autistic individuals are inherently weak?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's more about differences that narcissists exploit for power and control.
Can you give us an example, how this might play out in a real situation?
Absolutely. So imagine someone on the spectrum really thrives on routine, strong sense of responsibility. A narcissist might manipulate that. Maybe insist on these late night conversations about their own problems, disrupting sleep, preying on that sense of obligation to help.
Right. So taking that positive trait, the responsibility, and twisting it, sounds like narcissists they're good at finding these vulnerabilities. Are there other ways they might target specific traits?
Oh yeah, definitely. Many autistic people experience social anxiety. Narcissists, they can isolate them from their support networks, making them depend on the narcissist for social interaction and validation.
It's heartbreaking. And I'm thinking about honesty, often associated with autism. How can a narcissist manipulate someone known for being truthful and direct?
Well, it seems counterintuitive, but they actually use that honesty against them. They might say someone's too sensitive or lacking a sense of humor when the person is just being honest.
Right.
It's a way to invalidate their experiences and stay in control.
So flipping the script, making the autistic individual feel like they're the problem, not the narcissist.
Precisely. And this can really damage their self-esteem, their ability to trust their own judgment.
Understanding these tactics is so important for protection. Why do narcissists target autistic individuals in the first place? Is it simply that they seem more vulnerable?
That's part of it. Narcissists are drawn to anyone they see as easy to manipulate.
Hmm.
But it's deeper. They see the world in black and white, need to be in control. Difference is a weakness to them. So those traits that make autistic individuals unique, their honesty, their strong sense of justice, even their literal way of thinking, all of that can be seen as a vulnerability.
It's fascinating, isn't it? It's not just individual vulnerability, it's a clash of perspectives, like speaking different languages.
Exactly. That's why it's so important for autistic individuals to understand these dynamics and learn to protect themselves.
And that leads us to the most important part, protection. What steps can autistic individuals take to recognize these manipulations and avoid them?
Well, awareness is the first step.
Hmm.
Just knowing the tactics narcissists use, it's empowering. It's like a radar.
So like shining a light on something that was hidden.
Yeah, exactly. Knowledge is power. And once you have that, it's about setting clear boundaries.
Boundaries, that line in the sand. Don't cross it.
Great analogy. Asserting those boundaries isn't selfish, it's self-preservation.
Love that. It's not being difficult, it's protecting yourself. This connects with something else our research highlighted, self-care and building a strong support system.
Absolutely. Manipulation takes its toll. It chips away at your self-worth, leaves you feeling drained, doubting yourself. Taking care of your emotional well-being, whether that's spending time in nature or doing activities you enjoy or seeking support from family, friends, a therapist,
Mm-hmm.
it helps you stay grounded.
It's like building a fortress from the inside out, strengthening that foundation.
I love that. Fortifying yourself emotionally.
One final point that resonated with me is rejecting negative messages. Can you talk more about that?
Of course. When a narcissist criticizes you, remember, it's a reflection of them, not you. Their need to control and put others down, it has nothing to do with your inherent worth. Don't internalize their poison.
So important, because it's easy to fall into that self-blame trap, especially when someone's so skilled at twisting
It
things.
is. But realizing it's their issue, not yours, that's liberating.
So let's connect this back to our listeners. Why is all this so important to understand, even if you don't think you've ever met a narcissist?
Because awareness is key. Narcissists, they're everywhere. Families, workplaces, friendships. Understanding their tactics helps you spot those red flags early on and protect yourself.
It's like a radar for toxic behavior, helps you navigate any social situation with more awareness.
Precisely. And it's not just about avoiding narcissists, it's about building healthy relationships where you feel valued and respected.
And remember, you deserve that. You deserve to be in relationships where your strengths are celebrated, not exploited.
And that brings us to some great resources and support systems, specifically for autistic individuals.
That's a great point. Our source material highlighted some amazing resources that can provide valuable support and guidance for autistic individuals and their families.
Yeah, it specifically mentioned the National Autism Association and the Autism Society.
Can you tell us more about these organizations and what kind of support they offer?
Absolutely. Both of those, the National Autism Association, the Autism Society, they're just incredible resources. They offer tons of information on everything from diagnosis and treatment to advocacy, even social skills training.
So, a really comprehensive network of support, it sounds like.
They are. And it's not just for individuals on the spectrum. They're also super helpful for families, friends, anyone who wants to learn more about autism and how to, best support autistic individuals.
So, it's really about building that broader understanding and creating a more inclusive environment for everyone.
Exactly. I think for anyone listening, if you've been affected by this personally, reaching out to these organizations can be a really, really valuable step.
Like having a lifeline, a place to turn for support and connection when you need it most.
That's a great way to put it. They can help you connect with other people who understand what you're going through, give you access to resources and information, and help you advocate for yourself or your loved ones.
This has been incredibly insightful. Let's circle back to our core message. Autistic individuals have unique strengths, and it's really important to be aware of how those strengths can be manipulated, right?
Yes, absolutely. Recognizing those manipulative tactics, that's the first step to protecting yourself.
It's about reclaiming your power, setting those healthy boundaries, and building that support system. But it makes me wonder, how can we as a society do better? How can we create environments where autistic individuals are less vulnerable to this kind of manipulation in the first place?
That's such an important question, and I think it starts with education and awareness. We need to challenge the stigma surrounding autism and cultivate a deeper understanding of the diverse experiences and perspectives of autistic individuals.
So shifting the narrative, right? Moving away from that deficit-based model of disability where we're focused on what people can't do, and moving towards a model that embraces neurodiversity, celebrates those unique strengths and contributions.
Exactly. And I think it's also important to challenge those societal norms that prioritize conformity and often punish difference, right?
Yeah, we need to create spaces where neurodiversity isn't just tolerated, but truly celebrated,
Yeah.
embraced as a source of strength and innovation.
And this means holding narcissists accountable for their behavior.
Mm,
We need to call out manipulation and abuse, not just for the individual being targeted, but for the health of our communities, right?
absolutely. Silence only makes these harmful dynamics worse. Speaking up can empower others to do the same, which creates that ripple effect and can lead to real change.
I think you've hit on a key point there.
Yeah.
Empowerment. It's not just about protecting ourselves, it's about reclaiming our agency and shaping our own narratives, right?
That's a powerful idea. How can we as a society support autistic individuals in finding that voice and advocating for themselves?
Part of it is challenging that traditional medical model of disability. The one that views autism as a deficit, a disorder that needs to be cured.
Right. It's about embracing the social model of disability, which recognizes that the barriers faced by disabled people are often created by societal attitudes and structures, not by their impairments.
Right, exactly. And I think that shift in perspective is essential for creating a more inclusive and equitable world for everyone.
So a world where everyone, regardless of neurodiversity, can live authentically, reach their full potential.
I couldn't agree more. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, it's important to acknowledge that there are different perspectives within the autistic community on how to address these issues.
That's a really important point. We need to approach this with humility. with a willingness to listen to those different voices and experiences.
Absolutely. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. What works for one person may not work for another.
It's about creating a space for that open dialogue, that exploration, and recognizing that the journey toward empowerment and liberation, it's ongoing, it's multifaceted.
And remembering, it's not just an individual struggle, it's a collective one. We have to build solidarity and work together for a more just and compassionate world.
So how do we move from theory to action? What concrete steps can we take to create that more inclusive and supportive world?
One of the most important things is amplifying the voices of autistic individuals, creating platforms and opportunities for them to share their experiences, their perspectives, their expertise.
So moving beyond speaking for autistic individuals and creating spaces where they can speak for themselves.
Exactly. And we need to be active listeners, engaging with their stories with empathy and respect.
This reminds me of something we talked about earlier, how narcissists twist honesty and direct communication, making autistic people feel like they are the problem. We have to counteract that by validating their experiences and affirming their right to express themselves authentically.
Yes. And part of that validation means recognizing and challenging our own biases, our own assumptions about what is normal and what is not.
So it's about that inner work, examining our own perspectives and how they're shaped by societal norms and expectations that can be limiting and harmful.
Exactly. And being open to learning and unlearning, to be open to new ways of thinking, new ways of being.
It's a process of continuous growth for us individually and for us collectively.
It is. And it requires us to be humble, to be compassionate, and to be committed to creating a world where everyone can thrive.
That's really powerful. It's not just about protecting autistic individuals from manipulation. It's about creating a culture of respect, understanding, and inclusion, where everyone feels valued, where everyone feels empowered to be themselves.
And that brings us back to that concept of playing on autistic traits. We need to change the narrative, to reclaim those traits as strengths, not vulnerabilities.
It's about recognizing the unique gifts, the talents that autistic individuals bring, and building a society that that celebrates those differences.
Absolutely. And, I think this requires a fundamental shift in how we understand success. We need to move away from these narrow definitions that prioritize conformity, competition, and embrace a view that recognizes and values those diverse ways of being, thinking, and contributing to the world.
This is beautiful, but it also feels daunting. Where do we even begin to create such a profound shift?
It might feel overwhelming, but I think it's important to remember that change starts with small steps. It starts with individual actions, conversations, choices.
So it's those everyday moments of awareness, empathy, and allyship that can lead to bigger systemic change.
Exactly. And one of those powerful things we can do is share our stories, our perspectives, both the challenges and the triumphs. Because stories connect us, they build empathy, and they inspire action.
I love that. It's about using our voices to create a chorus of understanding and support that can drown out the negativity, the prejudice that often surrounds autism.
And it's about celebrating the richness and diversity of human experience, recognizing that neurodiversity isn't a deficit, but a valuable part of, the tapestry of humanity.
I think you've captured the essence of what we're striving for here. It's about creating a world where everyone, regardless of their neurotype, can live authentically, connect meaningfully, and contribute their unique gifts.
And it's a world worth fighting for.
It really is. It's a world worth fighting for. But, it's inspiring to think about that world where neurodiversity is truly embraced. I'm also thinking about the practical steps, right? Especially for autistic individuals facing this narcissistic manipulation.
Yeah, for sure. It's not enough to just talk about inclusion. We need to give autistic individuals the tools and the support they need to navigate these tricky social situations.
Absolutely. And one thing that jumped out from the research was helping autistic individuals develop critical thinking skills to identify and respond to manipulation.
That's so key. We need to make safe spaces for autistic people, especially young people, where they can talk openly about their experiences and learn how to analyze those interactions. Look for those red flags.
So not just saying be wary of narcissists, but giving them the tools to understand how it works, to see those subtle patterns that they might not catch otherwise.
Right. Empowering them to trust their instincts, question things that feel off, and set boundaries.
Which, can be tough for some autistic people who might be more rule-focused or really want to please others.
That's true. And that's why patience and understanding are so important. The learning environment has to be supportive, not judgmental. a place where it's okay to make mistakes, to ask questions.
It's about that sense of agency, of self-advocacy, helping them find their voice and ask for help when they need it.
It all comes back to self-care and strong support systems, something we mentioned before.
Yeah, dealing with manipulation, even if you can see it and set boundaries, it can still be emotionally draining.
Absolutely. Autistic individuals need to prioritize self-care. Things that help them recharge, build resilience, like being in nature, hobbies, mindfulness, anything to help them feel grounded and connected to themselves.
And having that strong support network, family, friends, therapists, groups, that can make all the difference.
It really is like a safety net. People you trust to talk to get different perspectives, to remind you of your worth, especially when you're doubting yourself.
And it's important to say, seeking support isn't weak, it's strong. Reaching out for help takes courage, and it's essential self-care.
I couldn't agree more.
As we wrap up, I'm feeling hopeful. We've learned a lot about narcissistic manipulation, and we've explored ways to protect and empower ourselves, but the conversation goes on, right?
For sure. It's just the start.
So for our listener, a challenge, an invitation. What small step can you take today to build a more inclusive, supportive world for autistic individuals?
It could be simple. Learn more about autism, challenge your own biases, reach out to an autistic person in your life, ask how you can be a better ally.
Maybe it's speaking up when you see injustice, using your voice to amplify the voices of those who are often unheard.
Every action, even the smallest one, can make a difference. It starts a ripple effect.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you've gained a better understanding of the challenges and the triumphs of autistic individuals, and that you'll join us in building a more just and compassionate world for everyone.